Gather round and listen closely, because this story, my best beloved, happened a very, very long time ago, back when all the tame animals we know today were still wild. The dog was wild, the horse was wild, the cow, the sheep, the pig, they were all as wild as could be, wandering through the wet wild woods, all by their wild lones. But the wildest of all these wild creatures was the cat. He walked by himself, and to him all places were exactly the same. Of course the man was wild too. Terribly, dreadfully wild. He hadn't even started to become tame until he met the woman, and she told him, quite clearly, that she did not like his wild ways of living one bit. So she found a nice, dry cave to live in, much better than a pile of damp leaves. She scattered clean sand on the floor to keep it tidy. She built a lovely warm fire with wood at the back of the cave. Then, she took a dried wild horse skin and hung it, tail down, across the entrance. And she said, "Wipe your feet when you come in, dear. From now on, we'll keep a proper house." That very night, my best beloved, they had a magnificent feast. They ate wild sheep, roasted on hot stones and seasoned with wild garlic and wild pepper. They had wild duck, stuffed with wild rice, wild fenugreek, and wild coriander. They cracked open the marrow bones of wild oxen and finished with sweet wild cherries and wild granadillas. After all that wonderful food, the man, feeling happier than ever, fell fast asleep in front of the warm fire. But the woman didn't sleep. She sat up, combing her long hair. She picked up the big, flat shoulder bone from the mutton they had eaten, the blade bone, and stared at the strange and wonderful patterns on it. She tossed more wood onto the fire, making the flames dance higher, and then she began to make a magic. It was the very first singing magic in the entire world. Now, out in the dark and wet wild woods, all the wild animals saw the bright glow of the fire from far away. They gathered together, full of curiosity, and they all wondered what this strange new light in the darkness could possibly mean. Wild Horse was the first to speak. "Oh, my friends and oh, my enemies," he said. "Why have the man and the woman made that great light in that great cave, and what does it harm us?" Wild Dog lifted his wild nose, sniffed the air which carried the scent of roasting mutton, and said, "I will go and see and look and tell, for I think it is good." "Cat, come with me." "No, thank you," said the cat. "I am the cat who walks by himself, and all places are alike to me. I will not come." But he followed Wild Dog softly, very softly, and hid himself in a place where he could see everything. When Wild Dog reached the mouth of the cave, he lifted up the dried horse skin with his nose and sniffed the delicious smell of the roasted mutton. The woman, who was looking at the mutton bone, heard him, and she laughed. "Here comes the first one," she said to herself. "Wild thing out of the wild woods, what do you want?" Wild Dog whined, "Oh, my enemy and wife of my enemy, what is this that smells so good in the wild woods?" The woman picked up a roasted mutton bone and threw it to Wild Dog. "Wild thing out of the wild woods," she said. "Taste and try." Wild Dog gnawed on the bone, and it was more delicious than anything he had ever tasted. He said, "Oh, my enemy and wife of my enemy, give me another." The woman said, "Wild thing out of the wild woods, help my man to hunt through the day and guard this cave at night, and I will give you as many roast bones as you need." Wild Dog crawled into the cave, put his head on the woman's lap, and said, "Oh, my enemy and wife of my enemy, I will help your man to hunt. Through the day and at night I will guard your cave." "Ah," said the woman, stroking his head. "That is a bargain. You are no longer Wild Dog, but the first friend, because you will be our friend forever and ever and ever." She got up, poured some warm water into a wooden bowl, and said, "Wash and be clean." Wild Dog washed himself and went to sleep by the fire. Not long after, the woman heard another sound. It was Wild Cow, crashing through the forest. She stood outside the cave, her wild eyes reflecting the firelight. She had smelled the wonderful new smell of hay that the woman had spread in the cave. "Oh, my enemy and wife of my enemy," said the Wild Cow, "what is this that smells so good?" The woman laughed again. She took a handful of the sweet hay and held it out. "Wild thing out of the wild woods," she said. "Taste and try." Wild Cow chewed the hay, and it was more delicious than any grass she had ever tasted. "Oh, my enemy and wife of my enemy," she said, "give me more." The woman replied, "Wild thing out of the wild woods, if you will give me your milk every day for me and my man, I will give you this wonderful grass 3 times a day." Wild Cow thought for a moment and then said, "You have gentle hands, O my enemy and wife of my enemy. I will make that bargain with you. She knelt down in front of the woman, who put her arms around her neck. Ah, said the woman, that is a good bargain. You are no longer Wild Cow, but the giver of good food. You will be our friend forever and ever and ever. Wild Cow went into the cave and lay down with the others. And the cat, watching all of this from his hiding spot, just smiled. He said to himself, the night is still young. I am the cat who walks by himself, and all places are alike to me. He wasn't ready to make any bargains just yet. He turned and slipped away, silent as a shadow, back into the wet wild woods, waiting for his own perfect moment. What do you think the cat will do next? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for listening to our story today, and don't forget to subscribe for more tales from long ago. See you next time.